Hi, this is Zach, and I'm going to show you how to do the die process, which publishes die drawings to our server, as well as creates the part library drawings and the DXF files for the Quadra and Planet for the machine programming. And the instructions for this are on the wiki site, and the easiest way to get there is from the wiki home. You can go to Glass Standard Procedures. It'll take you to our shortcut list of standard procedures. This one's under engineering and under new die process. Right. So here are all the steps that you need to do. The first three are basically setup kind of processes. So it's telling us to start with the die procurement process, which is what you use to create part numbers. And I believe there's going to be another video for that as well. That has already been done, so I'm going to skip that one. Then you're supposed to put the new die drawing into the new die prints folder on the S drive, part numbers. And that's just a place to store them and batch them. So right now, this is the S drive new die prints part numbers folder, and there's quite a few dies to run. And I'm going to be doing this one here, which I have already opened in AutoCAD. Also, we need the WW Dies ribbon interface. So in AutoCAD, I have that exposed here. You can right-click in this gray area and then show tabs, and WW Dies is right there. Right. Now, following that process, I open up the file, and then I run the appropriate cleanup command on the drawing based on what vendor this die is from. This is a SAPA die, so I'm going to run the SAPA command from the ribbon. First thing it asks is for the Walters and Wolf part number. Part number is listed on this drawing right here. I could also type it by hitting T and enter, but I'll just click on this. It gives me an opportunity to change it in case I misclicked or something like that. That looks good. I'll hit OK. It prints out some PDFs and throws them on the server. Those are the die prints that the portal uses when you ask for a die print. That's the PDF that it pulls down. Select the die number text. This is the die number as known by the vendor, and that's right here. So I'll click on that. Again, it allows me to change it if I misclicked. Okay. Now it wants the weight text. Now, depending on which vendor you pick, the questions will come in a certain order. So because I picked SAPA, it's going to ask me the weight, which is right here. And next, it probably will ask me area, because this command has been customized for the SAPA title block. And it will go kind of in the order of the title block. So weight, area, perimeter, going right down the line, temper, and alloy. For SAPA dies, this is sometimes hard to find. Here it is. Material. I can click on this whole thing and it's fine. It asks if this is a solid or hollow. Looks like it's a solid. There's no hollow regions inside of it. It's also not assembly. It doesn't have a ISO bar. So I'll just hit enter for solid. Then it gives me an opportunity to change any of those numbers that I got before. Sometimes vendors will have the decimal points as separate text objects, or there's all kinds of weird things that you might see. So I'm just quickly looking to make sure that these numbers are reasonable and that it found my alloy and temper correctly. So I'll hit OK. Now this is the actual cleanup phase. All that data that I just picked on is put on the portal, and now it's asking me to select objects. It's very important here to select the actual size die object, which is shown here. This is the actual size. I don't want to click on this one. Sometimes you'll get a smaller die on a large sheet that's blown up, and then they'll have a small one that has no dimensions on it sitting onto the side that's called actual size. So you always want to do the actual size. Otherwise, you'll be importing a die that's completely the wrong size into the parts library, and it won't be until the drafters see it that you'll find out that you did it wrong. So I'm going to select everything here. I just want to make sure that I get all the parts of the die. So it erases everything else. It also combines things together so that things of like colors are all one polyline. So it's asking me which one do I want to keep out of all this stuff, and I want to keep this polyline here. If there was a hollow, I'd probably have a few more to pick. And erase everything else. It's like the insertion point for this part. Usually I like to pick a sharp corner that's toward the face of the system. It's mainly to assist the drafters when they insert this from the parts library. They're going to be grabbing it by this point. So you want it to be something that they could easily find. This one should be good. Technically it doesn't matter all that much where it is, but you want to make it easier for the drafters. Click there. And then it cleaned it up, changed the color, removed some of the radiuses, and it dumps me into what looks like a part drawing. So that's the step 5 and step 6 where we followed the prompts. Step 7 is to orient this part. So according to the die process page again, we need to orient this, and it gives us a couple examples of how this part should be oriented. If it's a horizontal part, outside the buildings to the left. Vertical part, same thing, outside to the left, and you want the flat side down if it's a split mullion. If it's not a split mullion, if it's a mullion with a glass pocket, something like that, and only one glass pocket, you want that to be down. For sloped horizontals, you want one of the primary flat sides either running vertically or horizontally. And you want to keep it as close to what the detail would look like as possible. And that's so that the drafters or the takeoff group doesn't get any strange compound miters on sloped parts. So this part here that we're dealing with is a head track. So the outside of the building is over here, and the top of the part is up here. It's installed, and then there's a drive-on stop that goes over here. So this orientation is already correct, so I don't have to do anything with it. The next step is to finalize the die. So here's the finalize die button. Just run that. It asks me where do you want to save this part. So this is a A750 part. It should be part of the Walters and Wolf library on the S drive, which it automatically opened. That's the default folder. If you're doing a Seattle part, you'll want to change this to the Seattle folder. If you're doing a W75 part, it should be in Walters and Wolf. If it's some other vendor like a Connier part, something like that, you would want to put that in the Connier folder. So this one's going to go right here in the Walters and Wolf folder. Hit save. Looks like there's one already there. And when we go look at this in the portal, you'll see that this is not the first vendor to carry this part. So there's some other vendors. So it already exists on the parts library. I'll replace it for now. And what it just did is, because it's on the server, it inserted the part on top of the other part to show me what the difference is. So it looks like the one on the server right now, it has radiuses in places where maybe it's not needed. It's got this V groove here. That looks all pretty good. Pretty much this is just a check to make sure that when you're overwriting something on the server, you're not changing it greatly, or you didn't pick the wrong part or something like that. So this looks like a good change. I'm going to hit O for overwrite. It goes in and substitutes it all. And what it's doing is replacing the parts library drawing, making a picture for it on the portal, and it's also making the DXF so that it can be programmed on the planet. And that was it. That was step 8, finalize. And then the very last thing that we have to do before we go off and repeat this for other dies is to update the final die print date. So that is on the portal, go to engineering, die information, search out the part number. Here's our part. See, there's multiple vendors here. opens. So it looks like it was used on several jobs with different vendors. That's why it already exists. This might be a revision, but it exists for a couple of vendors here. And I would have to update this final die print. I don't have access to do that, but that's the last step. And that's about it.